ranking the 2026 NFL Draft quarterback class, and where is the landing spot for QB2, Ty Simpson, on today's NFL Six Pack.
This is Locked On's NFL Six Pack. 6 bold takes from 2 guys who just flat out know football. NFL experts Matt Williamson and Brian Peacock bring pure NFL talk. Great takes, no fluff, just honest football talk. Crack one open. It's NFL Six Pack on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to the NFL Six Pack. Brian Peacock and Matt Williamson. Thanks everybody for making us your first listen of the day right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. And thanks for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Make sure you're all subscribed up on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcast. And we're talking quarterbacks for the NFL draft, looking at some historical reasons why you should or should not draft the quarterbacks in this class, particularly non-first round quarterbacks as well. Is Ty Simpson a first round quarterback, and where could he possibly land? I think the easiest part of all of this, Matt, is who is QB1 and where will he go? So that's the shortest conversation. But I think what happens in this draft is, okay, you know this happened last year as well with maybe not to as much of a degree this year as last year, but it was like, okay, Cam Ward's going to go 1, so let's never talk about him, right? So I don't want that to be the case.
Yeah.
With Fernando Mendoza, and why is he your QB1 as we get to Matt Williamson's top 6 quarterbacks in the 2026 NFL draft? Fernando Mendoza, talk to me about him as a NFL prospect.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I'm liking him more and more. When I started this process, I kind of thought, he's one by default in a bad quarterback class, yada, yada. Now, I still would have him slightly behind Cam Ward from last year, slightly, but they would be like right next to each other. And both of them would be behind what I thought of May, Caleb, and Jaden Daniels 2 years ago. I was really high on all 3 of them. But they would all be ahead of what I thought of Penix, Nix, and McCarthy, which looks pretty good right now. Nix is better than I thought he'd be, though, to be honest. But he got better as the season went on, and the competition got harder, and the Ohio States of the world and the college playoffs of the world. And I really think he's an odd fella, but I think his makeup, at least on the field, is really, really strong, tough-minded, aggressive throwing the football. And one thing I bet Tom Brady will adore with this guy, and there's plenty, don't get me wrong, is much like Brady, he's a 6'5", long-limbed, long-levered dude. And as you know, some of these taller quarterbacks, sometimes their mechanics fall apart because they got a lot of long levers and a lot more room for error. They're not short and compact. But this guy's repeatable mechanics are phenomenal. No matter what, people are hanging off him or pushing him to his left or his right or whatever, you can tell he's done a lot of the hard work that Brady did to always the ball comes out clean and sharp and catchable. And I don't love his athleticism. It's enough, don't get me wrong, but it's more Jared Goff, Matt Ryan, and people remember them late in their career when they were statues, but when they were first, top 3 overall picks type guys, they could move pretty well coming out of BC and Cal. They were not statues then, but that's about where he is. And I know he made a huge run in the national title game, and everyone remembers that. Yeah, he can run 8 yards and get hit and, whatever. But in terms of improv, it worries me because some of like the immediate pressure stuff, he doesn't handle as well as some of the guys we listed before.
So you're talking more footwork than just being able to get out and get striding on the move and get a first down and then slide. And get
the improv stuff, I just don't think is going to be there. When he gets knocked off his pins or things don't go to plan or certainly designed runs or make you miss into the NFL level.
Right. But he's not that. That's not what you're drafting him for. He's a pocket passer.
He's a pocket passer,
but has some athleticism for a guy he's not a complete statue for being 6'5".
Right.
30.
He's not Drew Bledsoe or,
Showed up bigger at the combine, too, than I think a lot of people expected. Just under 6'5", 236. That's huge. That's Josh Allen size.
We'll talk about some of these guys, but that's one of my problems with a lot of these draft classes. A lot of small guys. And I'll be honest, I'm getting more and more prejudice against small quarterbacks. I mean, they don't see as well. I mean, this has gone on our whole life, but there was that stint starting with like Russell Wilson to Kyler that, oh, small height doesn't matter. Yeah, it does. And so does just your the way you play big. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen a quarterback play bigger than Josh Allen, but like Cam Newton, Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, those guys play big. Like, again, I always bring things back to the Steelers, but like after watching Ben all those years, when they drafted Pickett, people would just ragdoll him in the pocket and throw him around and like didn't have any physical presence.
It's really shocking going from the guy who's the hardest to bring down in an era to somebody who's very easy to bring down.
Yeah, and every tackle looks like a train wreck, and it's like there's limbs flying everywhere, and it's like, oh man.
If you're gonna get hit a lot, you need some heft to you to hold up to that beating as well. And we know teams like guys with physicality, and the planet theory that a lot of people talk about, where it's like there's not that many people walking the planet that are shaped like that. So when you go do your mock drafts, planet theory, teams love these guys that are just shaped different than other human beings.
No doubt.
That you can't find walking the earth. Quarterback 2, is it Ty Simpson?
It is. Okay. And I respect him. I like him. His size worries me. And last year is a really strong indication of why, because Todd McShay said this, and I think he's pretty much dead on, and it sounds harsh, but if you just watch their first 8 or 9 games, Simpson was a better player than Mendoza. Now, he had a better first 2 months of the season. But then things started to get tougher, and the competition revved up, and the rigors of the season came in. And Mendoza took his game up 2 notches. I'm playing Ohio State and Downs and, Styles and I'm fine, and Michigan and these teams, and he's Miami. And he got better and better and better, like where Simpson was definitely injured at the end, and it was a really poorly run offense. Like, you watch Alabama, like they're one of the worst coach teams in the league. Like, I'm sure it's not Saban anymore. Let's just say that. And they don't have the talent around him that you would think. But he's out there when he shouldn't be. Doesn't have a lot of career starts, which definitely worries me. I am a Parcells believer in that. And there's some of these guys that really worry you in that regard in this class. But he's twitchy. He moves well in the pocket. I mean, he's not going to run the fastest 40, and he's not Lamar, but he is sudden in his movements, and the ball snaps out of his hands. And certainly you see that he is a son of a coach, a longtime coach, and knows where to go with the football and does the little things. And I certainly could see him being this year's Jackson Dart, where the Cardinals move up to 27 and take him in the first round or something like that. Or the Jets convince themselves at 17 with their second pick, they should give it a shot. But there's a lot of concerns to be the second quarterback off the board.
Yeah, this is a tough one because you need quarterbacks, and there's obviously some talent there. And there's some pedigree to being the next starting quarterback at Alabama, and we see those guys get drafted. We see a lot of Alabama quarterbacks disappoint because of the talent around them, and they get the NFL where there's an even playing field. It's like, okay, I don't have all the 5 stars around me like I used to. So that's a factor, I think, for me, because they still are playing with Saban's recruiting classes, right? So it's like they still have a lot of 5-star guys at Alabama.
It's not bad. Don't get me wrong. Yeah.
They're a D2 squad out there now all of a sudden. But he can make some tight window throws, and there's a lot to like about Ty Simpson as well, even though I'm not on board with him being necessarily a clean first-round quarterback. But clearly he's the second quarterback in this class.
I agree.
And you talk about his size. There's 15 quarterbacks at the combine. There was only 3 guys that weighed less than him. At 6'1", 211 pounds. 211. So that's not a physically imposing. You look at him, he steps off the bus. There's a first round quarterback right there. But and so the question is, who loves him? Who it's going to be a big team meeting sort of a thing. Like, he blows you away on the whiteboard, and a team's like, look, he can make tight window throws. He can play in timing in our offense. We like this guy a lot, and this is the best option we have. So we got to go get this guy. And teams can really talk themselves into a quarterback and drafting a quarterback higher than maybe, and essentially all the top quarterbacks that aren't slam dunk. We're drafting this guy number 1 overall. get drafted a little higher than maybe they should in their evaluation
Mhm.
because you have to go find yourself a quarterback. So I think that's where we are with Ty Simpson. If you just slap the grade on him, where do you think he ends up going? Is he a late first? Is he a second round guy for you? Is he a third round guy for you? Or is it like he's for sure going to end up going in the first round?
I mean, in terms of what I'd grade him as, mid-second rounder.
Mhm.
I think he'll go in the first round to the Jets or the Cardinals or
I want to talk a little bit more about that actually. So
Yeah.
we get into
kind of a dumb
specifics
team
about
that
what
makes
that might
mistakes a
look
lot.
like.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Ty Simpson and where he could end up being drafted. But next, we got to get to the rest of your top 6 quarterbacks in the 2026 NFL draft. It's not a great class. None of the rest of these guys are going in the first round, and who knows, they might all go on day 3. So can you find yourself a future starter? Can you find yourself a backup? And what does history tell us about non-first round quarterbacks? Next. Today's episode of NFL Six Pack brought to you by FanDuel. It's March and college basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night from early tip-offs to late night West Coast shootouts. There's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with the college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want. You can look at rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever fits your read of the situation. You can make spreads, totals, player props to match how you see the slate playing out. Then you can apply the profit boost and instantly bump up the potential payout. So go safe, go bold, ride with the team you've been following all season. Maybe your alma mater is making a run. It's your parlay, your style, now with more upside behind it. Just head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in, making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And yep, we're every day throughout the offseason. We know our everydayers love the offseason here. So join the Everydayer Club now with code MARCH and get your first month free. If you sign up before the NCAA tournament tips off this Thursday, you can, not a lot of time left, you can compete against Locked On hosts in our men's and women's bracket pools on Discord. The winner in each will get $100 in Locked On merch. The rest of us can commiserate in the members-only chats as our brackets blow up. And as a member of the club, you get an ad-free version of this show. Again, it's all free for a month with code MARCH at nfl6pack.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. Here we go. Who's QB3 in this class for you? Because this is where you kind of start to move off consensus, and probably every team's got a different quarterback, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in this class.
They probably do. He's a lot like Simpson in some ways, but Garrett Nussmeier from LSU. And why I say that is I wish he was bigger. He's a coach's son. By all accounts, both of them are tearing up the interview process, as you would imagine. Big school guy, coach's son, highly recruited. You know, I mean, like they've been a quarterback their whole life since they could crawl, and I understand the position.
And Matt, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but Nussmeier was kind of on the track to be what Ty Simpson is now as maybe one of those first-round quarterbacks, and it just kind of didn't go that way for him at LSU. And size-wise,
Yes.
I mean, he's not that different, a little taller,
No.
skinnier. He's 6'2", even 203. So a lot of the things you say about Ty Simpson, you could say about Nussmeier, so why not
Very
wait
much
for
so.
Nussmeier?
I kind of lean that way too. Like if I can get Nussmeier at the 2-3 turn as opposed to Simpson at the 1-2 turn or whatever, I'd probably take Nuss. And a year ago, many people I trust, I mean, I don't summer scout or watch these guys from the year before, had him as QB1. You know, I mean, he had a really good year a year before. This past year, clearly he was hurt all year. And he had some kind of like oblique or some core type injury that would greatly affect everything he's done. And LSU all got fired, and they were a really poorly coached group as well. And he's gutting it out and putting bad tape out there. But he's got a live arm. There's a lot of Baker Mayfield to him, good and bad, you know, in terms of he'll drive the football. He's aggressive, throw over the middle and, you know, with some mustard on it, but also doesn't play big and is an okay athlete, not a great one, and puts the ball in harm's way. And this year wasn't good, but he went to the Senior Bowl. He's clearly the best guy there. You know, I mean, I could see where he would be a potential long-term starting quarterback, maybe, you know, not a high-end one.
I'm a little bit surprised at 6'2", he was not able to pack on enough protein
Yeah.
to get up to 210, 215 pounds.
Yeah. And again, he doesn't break a lot of tackles, and even at the SEC level, and he won't at the next level. And okay, sometimes I look at these like
and we always say, go back to school. You need a lot of seasoning before you get into the NFL. Don't be the 1-year starter guy. And Ty Simpson's like, you know what? I'm going to strike now while I can. And maybe Nussmeier should have done the same last year. So it's
Nussmeier should have last year.
That you need to stay.
I should have mentioned this with Simpson too. Like, I'm sure he was advised, come out this year because the dudes next year are all way better than you.
Yeah, you're going to be lost in that. And there was talk of him transferring, and it could have gone very south for him. It's like, look, if people are giving you a first-round grade, get the heck out.
Yeah, if you can go to top 50, take it now, because you could have a year like Nussmeier too, where it goes even worse.
Right, exactly. So after Nussmeier, then we got Cole Payton. Drew Aller was a guy that was talked about at one point, like Nussmeier, as a future QB1. You got Carson Beck, who has been in college for 10 years, it feels like. Who's we're at number 4. Who's QB4 for you in this class?
So these guys take a lot more squinting. I mean, I don't even know that Simpson and Nussmeier are that hard of evals. Like, they might just be what they are, and they might be somewhere between Baker Mayfield and Davis Mills or something like that, where I went for Cole Payton just because I've told myself 10 years ago, when I evaluate college quarterbacks, I don't mind if I miss here and there, but I'm going to swing for the fences. I'm going to Dave Kingman it when I'm at the plate. A couple strikeouts are fine. I don't need singles. I don't need Kenny Pickett. I need, guys that might hit. And Cole Payton is a really athletic player with a big arm and a big body at a small school and a weird lefty. And frankly, he's a lot like Tebow. He's got that upper body stiffness to him that looks even worse when you're a lefty. He doesn't have a ton of experience, even though he's at a small school. But I bet his rookie year, he's tush pushing and Taysom Hilling it and getting on the field, and maybe he's even playing special teams for you, like Tebow should have. But you get him in the 4th round and not the Heisman darling in the 1st round that never should have went that early.
Where Tebow should have gone in the first place. Tebow was always a 3rd round tight end. I don't know why you would watch him throw a football and say, oh, that's my 1st round quarterback there.
Yeah.
And so I hope Cole Payton throws the ball better than Tim Tebow.
I think he does. Yes, he does. And the Senior Bowl, I thought he definitely did.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I tell myself also, most of these guys will get much better mechanically and coaching at the next level when they get private quarterback coaches. That they might work on his upper body flexibility, and North Dakota State's not going to get that out of him. You know what I mean?
Yep. 6'3", 232 pounds at the combine, 4.56 40-yard dash. So some athleticism.
Oh yeah, big time.
But he was kind of outdone by a couple other even more athletic quarterbacks at the combine. Just a weird group of QBs. Who's your next guy here?
What I'm going to mention, because you just threw that out there, is Taylen Green from Arkansas, because he's the one that outdid everybody. But if you watch him, the short of it is he's a ridiculous athlete, but everything takes forever. I mean, long release. Should I throw it here or not? Yes, I should. And then it comes out like a rocket launcher,
Yeah, I went immediately to the tape, because when you're 6'6", 227, you run 4.36, and I didn't watch a lot of Arkansas football over the course of the fall, and so Taylen Green wasn't super on my radar. I knew there was this big athletic quarterback. 6'6", 227, ran 4.36 40-yard dash, 43.5-inch vertical, 11.2 broad jump, and I was like, let's put on the tape of this guy, and it was like, okay, what position he's going to play, because I don't think it's quarterback.
Right.
6 feet of his 6'6" frame is all legs, and the rest of it's arms. He's got nearly 35-inch arms.
His levers are crazy, yeah.
But then even when you see him get out on the move and run, it's so long-legged that you're like, well, he's not going to break down and run routes as a wide receiver either.
No.
So, gain 20 more pounds to be a tight end. I don't know what to do with Taylen Green, but he's a crazy athlete.
Right. And when he opens it up, though, it's like 5 yards go every step. I mean, it's like Mike Evans when he opens it up. I mean, it's crazy. He's not in my top 5 though, because I don't even know if he's a quarterback.
He's got a good enough arm though, but it's just
arm strength.
Yes, arm strength. Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as
not
precision and I didn't do that deep of a dive, but it didn't take very long to be like, okay, wow, this is a project as a quarterback. But man, tons of ability. Yeah.
I mean, if I had to rank them, Carson Beck's my next guy.
Okay.
And it's just boring and
he's
safe.
QB3 for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I get it.
33, a lot of experience.
I think he'll be in the league for 8 to 10 years, probably as a backup. He seems, this is probably harsh, but he seems very unlikable. I mean, he's often at the podium after losses, blaming everybody but himself. And on the same day, he had his Lamborghini and BMW stolen or something,
I mean, how long has Carson Beck been like recruited and given things for free and told he's the greatest thing ever since he was 14 years old, right?
Right. And he goes to Georgia and he's a golden boy and he's got traits and probably was a 4 or 5 star and has many $1 million between Miami and Georgia. I'm not saying he doesn't work hard, but he seems kind of douchey.
Yeah. And that's an important part of the process. Like how do you think this guy is going to be a leader?
Especially if you're a long-term backup, you better be a good hang.
Yeah, you better be a good hang, and you better be okay with holding the clipboard and helping out the other guy.
Yeah, right. You shouldn't.
How many Lamborghinis parked in the parking lot with backup quarterbacks?
Right. And Aller's worth bringing up too. I originally had him in my top 5, and I'm out on him too.
Really, it's that bad.
I just don't think he has any. I hate the word instincts. I never use that in scouting, but he has no quarterback to him. He's big, he's strong, he's physical. I guess from what I understand doing his background, and I did, Penn State's on here a lot, but he missed almost this whole year with injury, but he's late to he's unlike Nussmeier and Simpson. Like he was not born a quarterback. Somebody when he was like 15 years old said, "You're the biggest, strongest guy. You're going to be the quarterback."
Yeah.
And he has no touch and doesn't feel the quarterbacky things. It's real clunky. I mean, just a lot of layups he misses. He's not a natural thrower. Like some of these guys were pitchers or javelin throwers. Like
that's what I would think about with a guy like this. He's that pitcher who is a first-round arm, and you draft him, but you can't teach him a curveball, or you can't teach him
doesn't paint the corners,
an off-speed pitch, right? So he ends up being like just a one-pitch heaver, late-inning reliever. Maybe you get a closer out of him, but you don't have closers in the NFL at quarterback.
Right, that's what he would be. He'd be Rob Dibble, maybe.
Late-inning reliever, throw it hard and hope it goes in the strike zone.
And his fastball's 94. It's not 100. I mean, it's a good arm, but it's not the best. It's not Josh Allen's arm. Yeah. And he isn't very athletic. And when he starts getting on the move or things go wrong, he does something he shouldn't, or it doesn't look good. I mean, I understand the word upside with him because he's big and strong and looks the part. And if he walked in the door, that'd be your pick. But I don't think he'll hit.
Yeah, we're not laying out a great quarterback class here. So it's Mendoza for you. Mendoza, Simpson, Nussmeier, Payton, Beck, and then wild card Taylen Green.
I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there are some late guys I kind of like, but Tennessee's got a dude that nobody's talking about. Like, he's got traits, but overall, it's pretty soft.
Let's talk a little bit about some of these late round guys and what that can mean and how often you should be striking for some of these non-first round quarterbacks. And what does the exact Ty Simpson landing spot look like next? This episode of NFL Six Pack brought to you by Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill is still sitting open. And when the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Indeed sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed in the last minute, according to Indeed data worldwide. So spend less time searching, more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/SixPack. Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about it on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Okay, so Ty Simpson, is it just the Jets and the Cards at this point? And they're going to be jockeying for that early second round position where I believe the Cardinals actually are the first pick in the second round.
Yeah, I think they have the first one. He could be Will Levis, that first pick overall and day 2 guy, maybe.
Or this is like, it's shaping up to be the Jackson Dart thing. Who likes him the most? And who's willing to? Who's like, well, shoot, the Jets are going to jump in front of us, so we got to make a move here. Or the Jets say, well, if we want him, we have to go up because he'll just be taken right in front of us, and we like him enough to take him at the top of the second round. And of course, maybe he's picked 16 overall, and that's kind of like the ceiling, right? The Jets just sit there at 16. It's like, we like him. We're not going to move up for him. He won't be that our next pick. We're going to draft him right here, and we'll see what happens. I think more than likely it's the Jets or the Cards at the beginning of the second round make a move up, and there'll probably be plenty of teams that in this class are like, yeah, sure, we'll move down. So that might be a hard of a deal to go up, and you don't have to mess around with that future first round pick.
That's my prediction. Well, first off, the elephant in the room is I've been told that he's not for the Steelers. So I don't think that'll be next year's project. So I don't think he goes 21 to the Steelers.
It's Nussmeier, but is that the second round or the third round?
I think they might consider quarterback in like the third round. Everyone's infatuated with Will Howard. We'll talk about that later or whatever. But I think it's a Dart situation. It sounds so terrible, but I think a smart team that's like a playoff team, like, one of these guys pick at the end of the round, the Rams, like they did last year, will trade their first round pick to a dumb team like the Cardinals or Jets or Browns that have a lot of picks.
Yeah.
And they'll reach for him, and he'll go to a bad situation, and he'll be swimming upstream his whole life, until he gets out of New York like Darnold did, or you know what I mean? Like
that 20s, you start looking at Philly, who's at 24.
They'll get out.
Yeah, right. Like Bears, Niners, Buffalo Bills, Houston, right in
Rams
that
second pick.
Yeah.
Or no, they traded that.
But KC could be that team as well.
Yeah. We'll get out.
Could go. I think KC's going to move out of 29. They could go up or down though.
Give us picks next year. Yeah. We'll get out for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so that's that.
That's my hunch on that.
Just really quick, can you give me the? We don't have a lot of time here, and we have a few minutes though.
Yeah,
I think you and I just kind of looking at things and looking at quarterbacks in the past and draft classes. We kind of had without historical data, just being like, well, why don't teams go try to find their Brock Purdy more often? Why aren't teams draft a mid-round quarterback every single year? What does it actually look like drafting mid-round quarterbacks? What does history tell us about these non-first round QBs in the NFL?
So I deal with this all the time here because the new golden boy of Pittsburgh is Will Howard. Last we saw him, he won the national title, and unfortunately he got hurt. He didn't even play a preseason snap. McCarthy loves him. Just put him in. How are you ever going to find the next Tom Brady unless you give him a chance? Come on, Matt. Don't sell this guy short. Hey, I'd play him like crazy in the preseason and see what happens. I think he was drafted to be the next quarterback's backup. The Frank Reich to Aikman or whatever. Jason Garrett to Aikman.
You don't let the sixth rounder change your plans.
No.
He shows you something, then okay. Then he showed. But what has he shown yet in the NFL? Nothing yet.
Nothing, right. They love him in the meeting room, and he's a good guy. And I had a 4th round grade on him. They got him the 6th round. Cool. But I heard Tom McShay say this, and I really took it to heart and did all the homework on it yesterday for the Steelers because, and Todd mentioned, he said 8% of quarterbacks not taken in the first round, 2 through 7, including supplemental picks, have not become long-term backups. I'm like, 8%?
Long-term starters.
Long-term starters. I'm sorry. So what I did is I went back. We're not
talking about Riley Leonard starts a game because someone.
No.
Yeah, we're talking about this is your starting quarterback going into the year.
Yeah, this is Matt Williams' opinion if you were a long-term starter or not.
Okay.
So I took the last 10 draft classes, and I made it 10 because Dak was 10 drafts ago, because he counts. If you go 11, it makes it even worse because that 11th draft was horrendous. So the year before Dak.
Okay.
So what I did is I went to drafthistory.com. I urge everyone to do it. I read off on a podcast every quarterback that got drafted outside of round 1. Now there's 2 players, Shuck from last year and Willis, that could be long-term starters, but I can't give them the yes now. At least they're making a bid for that. And they were not first-round picks, as we know. But in 10 draft classes, Todd was right. It's an 8% hit rate. It's Dak, it's Purdy, and it's Hurts. They're the only 3 out of like well over 100 players. I mean, non-first round long-term starters I would put the check mark by. It's an awful hit rate. It doesn't mean some of those are bad picks.
Right.
Davis Mills is a long-term backup. That's fine.
Just know that if you take a quarterback outside of round 1, he's probably a backup. And if you're okay with that, then good.
And I had a lot of Steeler fans saying, well, those guys never got enough opportunity. Maybe.
There is selection bias in that for sure, because the first round guys are probably worse than some of those backup quarterbacks. They're going to get chance after chance after chance.
If Belichick would have picked Bledsoe over Brady, maybe his career wouldn't have went the same either. But
and it's not saying that the first round hit rate is amazing.
No, it's terrible too.
That's how, and it's how you find you can do the same thing with offensive tackles. To be honest with you, do left tackles. I bet it's even lower.
Yeah. Right. I'm sure it is. Yeah. I mean, there's some positions where if you're going to get them, you got to pay for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there are the Derek Carrs in history if you go back 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not really even in the league right now. Garoppolo was an early second. Kaepernick, they even count. Were they long-term starters?
Yeah. I mean,
Andy Dalton.
And there's hits, and we're talking, the guys you're talking about right now were still like, it wasn't like out of nowhere. Like Purdy was way out of nowhere.
Yeah, Purdy and Brady are different.
Tom Brady, way out of nowhere. Dak was probably underdrafted. A lot of people really liked Dak Prescott, and it's kind of surprising that he was still there in the 4th round.
And Hurts was an early second.
Yeah, and he was an Alabama guy. It was just didn't really know how to use him, and had to be the right team that wanted to give him a shot. And the other guys were, early 2nd round picks that we're talking about. Like if Ty Simpson goes 35, like that's where Cap, Andy Dalton, Drew Brees was an early 2nd round pick, right? So a lot of those guys were
that's a long time
kind
ago.
Of right outside the 1st round anyway.
There's a lot of Levises too that are early seconds that are junk,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's amazing. And when you read off the names on a podcast, it like hits you like a Tyson punch in the face. Like I haven't heard of half these dudes. It's only been the last 10 drafts. I'm not going back 20 years. Right. Deshaun Kaisers and guys like,
Oh, right.
There's a lot of those type of
one of those like
Hackenberg.
I'm pretty sure Kaiser was one of those where it's like, Mel Kiper does a mock draft for the following year, the day after the draft.
Yeah.
He was like number 1 overall.
Number 1 overall, right. Yeah. Christian Hackenberg. I mean, there's so many of those type of dudes.
Phenomenal stuff. Okay. It's hard to find a quarterback, which is why Ty Simpson's going to end up being a 1st round pick.
And you got to pay for him, right?
Yep,
and I hope he is for his sake, because it ups his chances of hitting.
Yep. He'll get more chances for sure. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen of the day. Sub up on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcast. Drop a question for this week's mailbag as well in the YouTube comments or on Twitter at BD Peacock, at Williamson NFL. And Matt and I back tomorrow with a probably more draft related, now that free agency has slowed down, mailbag right here. Tune in and subscribe.